Hi, good evening. Good evening, everyone. We have, the very kind of the less guests here, but hopefully the online we have more people there. Thank you so much to attend imToken and Galaxy Meetup. So today we will talk about growth marketing, and then I'm Long Long, so I'm leading the marketing team in imToken, and then this is Joe.
Hi everybody, I'm Joanna. So long term. So I'm actually the head of customer success, like the head of client relations in Galaxy. Yeah, so happy to be here.
Yeah, I put Joe's picture here, so people will know who is Joe. And this is me.
Yeah.
And then we are marketing, right? So typically the photo is much better than the real person. Okay, so just a little bit like for the people, if you don't know imToken, then we put imToken here, so you can just scan the QR code and then download imToken. So actually imToken is a non-custodial wallet. So Galaxy, yeah. So for the people, if you don't know Galaxy, then you can also scan the QR code of the Galaxy. Then you will know Galaxy will give you a lot of the rewards in Web3, a lot of activities and a lot of rewards. Okay. Yeah. The next one is actually, we have a Telegram QR code as well, so you can join us in the Telegram. So we will share all the content, materials, and also the future meetups in this Telegram as well. And also by this chance, I think no matter for people online or offline, can also practice QR code again. Because during the COVID period, we keep just scanning QR code here and there, and now COVID is gone. So today we can just try to recall our memory again to just scan all the QR code. Yeah, so today actually we set up the venue in this way. Just want to have like a very close conversation regarding to the marketing growth. Particularly we are talking about like the how to grow the business, how to grow marketing from the regional perspective or from different country geography perspective. So we can definitely share some kind of practice and thinking from both on imToken and Galaxy. So maybe I will start first, share something, and then later, Joe can share from her perspective all the experience from her side, and then definitely we want to have all the questions from no matter from the room here or from online. Then we can have the conversation with everybody here. Yeah, before we start, actually, just for a little bit of warm up, we have the other QR code to show. This just give us a kind of the idea where we are regarding to the marketing and regarding to the growth. Where is my QR code? Give me 1 second. Let's just scan the QR code again. Yeah, it's connecting. Give me 1 second. Ooh. Anything come here? No. Okay. If you're online, you can see the QR code or in the room here. You can join us in this Slido. So we have three polls so that we can see the different answers from the the audience here to discuss the some kind of the topics together. So if you join us here, I mean, you should go to there's a Slido website. Then the first poll. Where's my mouse? Ooh, it's not so easy. Give me 1 second. Okay, the first one. Yeah, what's your role here? So one is marketing related, what is non-marketing related? So we can know, how deep we can discuss later. So you just put your answer, then we should see the live result here. Any result? Seems like a, let me also scan. See if it's working. Okay, let's see the result. Okay, so majority of us here are non-marketing related, which is okay as well. So because marketing, like people always say, everybody can do marketing. Okay, let's do the second one. Yeah, do you use globalization strategy or localization strategy in your business? So you can choose go global or go local. Let's see a result. Oh, 50-50. So 50% people want to go global and 50% want to go local. Okay, last one. Yeah, do you use crypto or Web3 to describe your business? Okay, let's see the result. Okay, more people are using the Web3 instead of crypto. Okay, why we are asking for all this question? So we will have the better idea how we are running the business or how we can discuss the topic together today. Yeah, so for me, I just want to share from the imToken perspective or from my side perspective, how to balance the globalization or localization strategy. So just now we discussed about Web3 and crypto. Just want to share a little bit actually insight here. This is from Consensus, their kind of the survey globally. Actually, we can see here, talking about crypto and Web3, actually we have more people want to use Web3 for the reasons we all know, because crypto have a lot of bad perceptions from the the mass market. But actually Web3, the awareness is quite low. It's only 24%. Versus cryptocurrency, actually, even though it's carrying different perceptions, actually 92% of the people know crypto, know cryptocurrency. So why that is important? For like us, I think no matter globalization or localization, we have like some kind of benefits and have some kind of the challenges. So that is why we are here today to discuss about like what kind of strategy we should use to address all those challenges. So global or local, right? So I think I asked a question earlier in the poll, just asking, do you use like go local strategy or go global strategy? So what does that mean for the real business? Actually, I think from most of us, we are thinking, should we just run our business in one market first and do the excellence of the business first in one market, for example, in Singapore? Or we select several markets like ASEAN countries, Southeast Asia, or Asia Pacific, even like Europe, Latin America. So should we just choose like one market or should we choose several markets? That is like something we want to discuss today, and also want to find if there's any formula. So we need, I mean, from marketing, typically we want to have a lot of data. So from McKinsey, they are telling us, right? So for the companies who have over $20 billion dollars revenue per year, so actually more than, I think, 50% of their revenue is coming from the foreign countries. Means not from their kind of the homeland, from their domestic. But for the companies who have a 1 billion kind of revenue, only like 19% actually from foreign countries. Then from this chart, it seems like definitely people will feel, go global or go to the different countries will have more kind of chance, population-wise or business opportunity-wise. I think that's like a no-brainer. So, and also from number here, we can also see for all those companies who have very kind of big kind of business scale, for sure they want to do the global business, because global business means actually their scale and their profitability, their revenue is much better. So if we just kind of visualize us, who are they? If we are talking about like compare with us versus those kind of company talking about like 20 billion or 1 billion. So like 20 billion company, Instagram is just like 20 billion. So their revenue is 20 billion. We can think about like Instagram, this kind of company based on McKinsey's kind of the revenue study. They're more than 50% of their revenue is coming from the foreign countries. Like Instagram is based out of the States, right? Then Shake Shack is another company also based out of the States. But actually for them, they are like only 1 billion currently. Of course, it's also like quite a big size, but obviously they are like less, kind of have less impact from the foreign kind of the revenue. So I think from the name's perspective, we can also feel Shake Shack from their coverage or from their kind of the brand awareness perspective, definitely not as, the heavy as Instagram. So that shows actually, it seems like we should go global, because when we go global, that means actually even from the successful company perspective, we also can feel they have a very much business opportunity elsewhere, not only in their homeland. So I think that is like just from number perspective, because we are not only talking about like one company's success or two companies' success, we are just talking about like from like a possibility perspective. If we want to have the economy of scale, we should go global. I think that is also like why our Web3 companies, or like in our industry, every company, since we are like tech driven, so definitely we are not only targeting for one market. Typically we are targeting for a big kind of the market kind of pool globally. That's so-called like a product market fit, right? So for this one, right, go global strategy. So what kind of the industry they are suitable for? I mean the go global strategy beyond us. I think for us, we at least from my conversation with the different peers or different kind of friends in the industry, in the Web3 industry, then it seems like every company is aim global. But for like the, beyond us, there are a lot of the different industries. There are also some successful cases, like I showed here, like Airbnb, Netflix, Spotify. So they all like kind of like using this kind of global strategy, they deliver a very uniform message globally, consistently globally, right? They make the success. So again, from the report will tell us saying like for tech industry, media industry, or e-commerce, you can go global, right? You should use a global strategy to have the economy scale, to standardize everything, and to go there. I think what I want to share today is about us, right? In Web3, we always feel by nature is also we are borderless kind of product. We can go global, and then like imToken, we also want to go global. But it seems like it's not that easy to go global. Like Uniswap, this is one of the successful cases. I think like no matter in the East or West, they are kind of like can penetrate quite well. But for a lot of companies, then when we go global, then we feel for the language, for example, is a big barrier, because Web3 is not that everybody can, even you find a translator, maybe she or he does not know the industry well, he can't translate well. And then cultural-wise, we also cannot really understand, for example, like Japan. Later, I have a case study there. Japan, we don't know culture there. Then how can we engage with no matter customers or consumers? And then for our industry particularly, for legal and the regulation is also another kind of a challenge for all the companies. We need to comply with all the legal and the regulation. Particularly, a lot of the regulation is still very unclear because the technology developed much faster than the regulation and the compliance. So with all these kind of the barriers, so give us a question. So when we are aiming global, how we can just go there, how we can penetrate to more markets. I think there's a question here, right? So how many percentage of internet users won't buy the things from website if they are not in their kind of native language? Anybody want to have a try or take a guess? How many percentage of internet users won't buy like from no matter Amazon or from where? So if they see the the web page or like app is not in their native language. For example, Indonesia local people, if they just see everything is English, how many percentage of internet users won't buy? Want to take a guess, like 50%, 70%, or like lower, like 10%? Yeah, actually, I just give the answer. This is like a recent survey, 40%. So that is the consumer's kind of behavior. So for the consumer, if they didn't see the languages in their kind of the mother tongue, then 40% of users just don't want to buy anything from there. Now, definitely not like everybody, right? So still like a majority, like 60% of people will still buy things like, a lot of things has been globalized already. And then also this is from the even more interesting kind of number for the Google search. So Google search, we feel every day a lot of people are doing a search. So there's another number, it's quite also alarming as well. More than 50% of the Google search actually is not done in English. I think in our industry, in Web3 industry, including imToken, we focus on so much in English because it's much easier for us to do the globalization. But thinking about like consumers' behavior and the consumers' kind of needs, actually, we just saw like 40% of users, they don't engage well with the English. And then even for Google search, more than 50% of the Google search are not done in English, or done in the different language. So if we check the global population, only 27% of population are actually speaking English. Not everybody is speaking English. So I think that is like give us the first barrier. Even a language will become a big barrier for us to go global. So how can we localize us into the different languages globally? For example, in ASEAN, we have like the biggest country like Thailand, Thai, Indonesia, Bahasa, and also Vietnamese. That's like top 3 already. Then don't mention like if we go to Cambodia, we have Khmer, and then we have Myanmar, Burmese, and Japanese, Korean. So same thing I think happened in Europe as well. So it's not like English are commonly used everywhere. So this is like one study I want to share. For example, if we want to go to Japan, talking about our industry. So the yellow part is all the differences. So for example, we take a very simple one, like platforms. Maybe it's like Twitter and Telegram, we feel it's commonly used already. But Japan, I think there's something like, for example, Line are commonly used, which are not really commonly used in the other country. So even just talking about like media platform or social media platform or communication ways with the consumer, then we also feel there are some kind of the difference we need to consider. Not even talking about all those kind of the yellow part I put into a category, which means that they are quite different. So it's not really it seems like in some markets when we are using this so-called go global strategy and then just using the same product and by putting our wish, we just feel we are bought this product and we can go to this market. Things like there are a certain percentage of the people or customers should know English. should know the industry. So we should just can convince them to use this product. I think there, in certain markets, based on the at least facts here, right? So it's a little bit challenging and difficult. Yeah, I think then the next one from my end to share is then how about go local? Then we since go global, it doesn't work that well. We have language barrier, and then we also, for some local regulation and practice, we also cannot really identify or even don't have like right talent to tell us how to do it. Then how about let's use go local strategy? I think go local strategy, this is another interesting picture. So previously I stayed in Indonesia. I live and I work there, right? The bottom picture is actually from Indonesia. And also like I stay in China, right? So then the top picture is from China. So this is a KFC kind of the menu in their kind of the branches or in their outlets. Then we can see that this is a typical example for the go local. So they really, the KFC is a global brand, but they are offering their product, their communication totally different. For example, in Indonesia, I think maybe a lot of people goes to Indonesia also frequently. So in Indonesia KFC, you will see they are offering rice, right? So in Singapore, we have burgers, right? In Indonesia, they are really rice. Just the rice has been packed into the kind of the paper bag. So because Indonesia, the people, I mean, that's their main food for the rice. And versus like in China, so China, I think there are a lot of different cuisines in China, right? So then they put this like hot pot into KFC as well. So they totally just doing the localized, not only about the localized marketing, but the localized product. So for the localization, right? So I think what we saw we see from the other kind of successful cases beyond Web3, then they can build up very good like customer satisfaction, loyalty, and retention, and even not mentioning the other things. So basically, we can connect with users or like customers very well. I think for go local, there's also the challenge for us. For example, like imToken, taking imToken as example. So we are actually particularly focused a lot for the Asia markets. So we are building the product and marketing, everything from Asia. And when we are doing the different tailoring, the Asia kind of the packaging to, for example, go to even like Africa, like South Africa or like Nigeria, then we will just feel if either we are using global strategy, we don't really think about like a nuance. We just feel everything the same. So same thing, same messaging, even same channel. We just go to Nigeria. Then if we think about we need to tailor the messaging or we need to tailor the offering or tailor the marketing campaign, then it's really like time consuming and resource intensive because we don't have so many kind of the manpowers in our company to tailor different things just for like Nigeria or like for like Colombia or Argentina. That is a little bit too much for us. I think the go local is really like, yes, we can definitely have the connection with the local more, but potentially the resource is very kind of the consume a lot, and also it's consistency is from marketing perspective, the branding perspective, consistency is a key. So how we can keep the consistent messaging and brand image when we are doing all the different kind of local campaigns and local offerings. I think the earlier example from KFC, I don't know from their headquarters how they feel, but it's quite like they're building kind of like a different image for their mother brand already. I don't know from their kind of the overall like brand architecture perspective, they feel it's a good thing or bad thing, but that's at least we see that will be a challenge for a lot of companies to keep the consistent kind of the brand image and messaging across different marketing campaigns if we are just following the go local strategy. I think that's why the McKinsey, they are the consulting firm, right? Consulting firm will always give some kind of the answer or correct answer or seems like correct answer to solve the problem, then they will tell, based on their survey, they always have data, they have the, result to prove their points. So that's why from go local or go global, as a lot of the companies like us, we are facing, then they give the recommendation is most company should just follow the domestic focus strategy. What does that mean? Is you focus your own market first, and then gradually increase your international presence. So it's not like you just target so many markets because the success rate will be low, right? So I think imToken, maybe we did not really, when we built up the company by our founder 7 years ago, we did not really consult McKinsey, right? But we are literally just built up the, maybe Joe later can share like Galaxy because they are even like more successful in recent years. But for imToken, I think we definitely focus on like, for example, like Chinese community first. So that's just not really like we make the strategy, then we chose to focus on the Asia, focus on the Chinese community particularly, but it's just like the result now after 7 years, yes, we focus on that one. And then the second recommendation from them gradually, I think that's another thing from imToken, or like the other one is from Malaysia. I don't know if you guys know or not, Luno, right? So they are much more popular as a centralized exchange in Malaysia than, for example, Binance or Coinbase. So they are quite popular. I think for us, the challenge is, gradually, yes, we focus on certain markets already. No matter we purposely chose to do so, or like just naturally we develop in this way. But how to gradually just have more presence into the global markets. I think the key is the rest I want to discuss or like brainstorming with everybody is how gradually we can go there. Since we just now said already, so go global, there are some challenge. For example, like it's just, although it's like standardized, but we did not consider about language, we did not consider about the culture. So the consumer or customer, they can't engage because based on their survey, like more than 40% people cannot engage even just with language. And go local, then is we don't have the resource, then we also don't have expertise. So one thing I think we also like discussing imToken is actually there's no market called global. So when we say we want to go global, you still need to define so which country or which geography you want to go. So there's no so-called like a go global strategy because the global is not existing. But I think the good thing for us as a borderless product is there's a look-alike global citizens. So for imToken, how we are looking at now we are actually still piloting and exploring. It's more like, yes, we have our core audience. Then how can we find a look-alike? Maybe they are in a different country, they are in a different kind of language, but can we find the people who are quite have the same interest and the same needs as our current like core users? I think earlier I shared 20% of the global population speaks English. So from that perspective, it seems like quite alarming since we are only doing the English, but only 20% of people are speaking English. But if looking at the numbers here, actually we should be quite happy because our crypto, including, I think this number including the centralized exchange already. If talking about the crypto kind of the user population is only like 420 million. So that's only like 4.2 of the global population. When we are talking about we have 27% of the population speak English, I think that's like still like quite big gap for us to fill. If we can really penetrate from 4.2 to 27%, or even like half, 14%, right? That's a huge success already. So I think for imToken currently, what we are trying to piloting is, yes, we know go local or go like localization is a little bit challenging. So can we find a lookalike audience, even there's no such market called global, but can we just using the same kind of strategy, same content, just to engage with users in the different, since we are like a consumer business, right? So we're not talking about client or customers. We're talking about users. Can we find the same users in the other markets? So do we have the result now? We are still piloting. So today I cannot share the result yet, but definitely that's something we are currently doing. Yeah, just now I share this one. And then the other thing is, I think what we also, during the particular now is a bearish market, we feel the market research actually help us a lot as well. Earlier, I shared something just like data, right? That's like from our market research team provided. So market research actually can tell us really about where we can go. So instead of just struggling about like, should we just build a standardized product or standardized campaign to have the efficiency to go global, or should we just focus on like several markets to go local? Then we also have barriers, right? So I think market research will tell us where we can go. Again, taking Japan as an example. So I think that's like we will just evaluate. So when we go to the different markets, do we really have the success elements, or like all the areas listed down into those markets, actually we are not so strong. So then the success rate will be quite low. So the market research, it takes a bit time, but it helps us at least to make the kind of the slightly higher possibility to know if we can be successful or not in the new market. Yeah, so I just have three slides more. So before I pass to Joe to share from her perspective, the other thing I think really want to share or discuss is about like a language. I think I talk about language several times already. I don't know for your company, your project, when you want to go global, even like, because we can't just stay in the English for sure. At least we need to choose the other language. So for the language, since it sounds like quite simple, right? It's not only about like Web2 or Web3 or like any industry, but that is like the first thing if we want to have a close connection with the customers or users. So how we can make sure we can just translate all this kind of stuff? I think we tried different things before. For example, we use the translation house. We use through the community to find the people, or use freelancer, or sometimes even using those kind of the website to provide the instant translation. Like for example, currently we have the ChatGPT, and then you can subscribe to their kind of the premium kind of the service. But we found out actually the translation is not about like really the machine translation, like Google translation, translate from like one language to another. Because if we are just using that way, again, it doesn't solve any problem. So the user also know how to use the tool basically to translate the web page. So it's really about like to know the local, the nuance, including the culture, including their behavior. So if like we really want to translate something properly, and then our current finding is really find the right people. When we find the right people, no matter through which channel, it doesn't matter it's really we pay them or like they are just volunteer for free. If we have the right people, then it will solve a lot of problems regarding to the biggest barrier about the language translation. The reason is, for example, in imToken, last time we want to do something in the Latin America, so then we need people who can speak Spanish. But very unfortunately, like whole company, nobody knows Spanish. So if we don't have right people, we just cannot judge. No matter we hire like, of course, like in like a big MNC, they have different layers to do the quality control. They have validators, they have approvers, reviewers, or even like they can use a different translation house to just double check or cross check each other's translation. But I think for the translation is, if you just don't know that language, actually, no matter who translated for us, we just cannot judge. So we can just only thing is we can close one eye and then let it go and then wait for the feedback from markets if that's resonated well or if there's any mistakes. So that's why we spend more time to find the right people. Then regarding to how to find right people, I think that will be another topic by collaboration with the HR team, how we can find the right people with the right language. But one thing I can share with everyone here, previously we also feel this is just kind of like a slogan or like a wish we really cannot achieve. But by our so far, for example, I'm talking marketing team, right? So when we try to find the people who have the not like bilingual, multilingual, actually we found it's really possible. So currently we have a team member based out of India, Delhi. So actually he can speak quite good Mandarin. So he's not like in Singapore. I think in Singapore, maybe we find people to speak Mandarin, English, and any other country's language. Maybe it's easier because it's such a multi-language kind of environment. But we found out if we really target to find the right people, we just feel this is important for us to do the so-called the localization or to connect with the user more. Definitely there's a way for us to find those people who have the talent to master different languages, so they can become the bridge for us to solve those barriers. Yeah, and then the last slide from me is really about so far, just like I shared earlier, even for imToken, we are still testing which one is really good for us. Like I shared earlier, so definitely there are companies that are so successful. I mean, no matter Web2 or Web3, like Web3, we have the Uniswap. They are really doing the seems, right? So they are just doing the globalization kind of the strategy. And Web2 even have more, those kind of tech companies, they can all go global. And then also have a very successful companies, they are just running their local market so well. Like one example, like Malaysia, like Luno, I shared earlier. So they can do their local business well. But when we want to expand our business to the different markets, so just like imToken, right? That's what we are doing currently, how we can just go to the different markets beyond Asia. So I think for us, we at least we just, by the data, by the result, we just feel we need to test and optimize. So we didn't feel actually either go local or either go global is really fitting us so well. So it's really like different markets we are trying to using different strategy. We did not really formalize a single strategy to solve this problem. Yeah, I think last one is just hopefully, right? So everybody can just conquer this kind of barrier for the globalization and localization, and then definitely just to find your blue ocean globally, how can grow your business easily there. Yeah, that's from my end.
Okay. Yeah, so hi guys, so I'm Jo. For those who came in late, I'm actually the head of client relations in Galaxy. So for those that are not familiarized with Galaxy, it's actually straight out bluntly, we are actually a marketing tools platform. So it's a zero code platform, which means to say that if let's say you don't have any tech background or developer background, right, you can also utilize the Galaxy platform to launch any campaigns for your target audience. Because we actually have a lot of credential data, for example, like Twitter related, Telegram, Discord, etc., for you to eventually utilize and build and grow your community, I would say. So in terms of globalization and localization, I would say that especially on Galaxy side, on Web3, and we actually target more on global, as what Long actually mentioned before. But if we were to say that, is that just solely global? I would say no, because this applies to every partner, every company or project or protocol in Web3 especially, because you don't just, global is always the first step, right, to eventually reach out to a wider audience. But of course, when it comes to certain localization, you want to set a certain target geographical kind of users. So how can you do on Galaxy? So we actually have a geographical kind of features for you. So if let's say you're going to target Singaporeans, right? Only Singaporeans users can eventually participate on your campaign. You can do so on Galaxy as well. But for this kind of like localization, my personal suggestion is actually for globalization, you should set like a long-term kind of campaign strategies, because this is always the first and foremost kind of strategy that you should go, right? It always have to be like clear and concise and continuity. But for localization, you can set it like a seasonal kind of like campaigns and quests to eventually target it, because there's always no right or wrong answer to certain strategies. It's always trial and tested. We do see a lot of like successful cases on Galaxy itself and versus like non-successful cases on Galaxy itself. Because we are a tool platform, right? The tools are standardized. It's the same for everyone. It's just that how each of the partner or each of the individuals actually utilize these tools properly. So there are certain ways to go around it. For first and foremost, I would say for those non-successful cases that we actually see, particularly I would say the first one actually what they didn't realize is they don't have a target audience. They don't have a clear and concise content as well. So they probably just follow a few good examples that, maybe this is campaign setup. This is a strategy to go. So they copy and paste the strategy and utilize it on their first campaign. But what they realize is that, I follow this strategy, but it doesn't work. Obviously, it doesn't work because different products have different market target audience, right? So firstly, for any like new startup project, what I actually personally like to advise is the first stage is always attracting the user. So you got to grow your social states, you got to communicate with the users. And then once you actually gather these impressions already, right, build up your branding, then you go about educating your users as well. Because for users on Galaxy, what they like about Galaxy is they always start to hunt about new protocol, new projects, because it's about educational. Whereas like, partners are finding new users, all the right users, our users are finding the right partners, all the new partners as well. So it works both hand in hand. So educational, it's always the key campaign that is missing throughout, especially for non-successful campaign partners on Galaxy as well. So whenever we actually notice and we review their campaign data, participation count, etc., we always advise what they should do, like a formula, right? So the first one is always about branding, community build up, and then educational. So when educational comes, you always have to have, because this kind of campaign output, it just doesn't go for 1 quarter or 1 campaign, or 10 campaigns, for example. It's always have to be consistent, because you have to build a communication between your audience and you yourself. You have to eventually build the trust, and trust is not building just straight away from 1 campaign to campaign. It's always from a longer time zone. So that's why we actually have loyalty points on Galaxy to utilize this for any of our partners, right? So whenever you have a certain like events, this called AMA Essential, like this kind of like educational, interactive kind of events, you should eventually gather like certain loyalty points, because sometimes certain partners will eventually mix and match of token rewards or custom rewards, etc. But this is like a one-time off thing. We will always like to highlight on utilizing loyalty points, because eventually loyalty points you can set up for a longer term, right? For example, you have a 1 year long plan for this. Eventually, starting from day 1 to 365 days, you can eventually track how a user eventually contribute or participate into your protocol or your projects or campaigns. And through the accumulated loyalty points, you can eventually gather at the end of the year and contribute them or reward them with some big prize pool, etc. So this is one way that we like to do. So after the second stage of educating the users, then the third stage will be whereby you are looking to convert the users to try out your product, testing, etc. So this is crucial. If let's say you go through the first stage, you go through the second stage, and the last stage whereby you fail to capture the user's conversion of even trying out your products, that means to say the first one or the second one hasn't done a really good job, I would say. So user will only try your products if let's say they understand your products well. So you might look into like the educational kind of like tasks or quizzes. Is it clear for the users? Is your UI, UX clear enough for the users to eventually start to test out, right? So after the conversion, like let's say the user actually try your products, you gotta think of the long-term solution of retention. This is where the gamify comes in. So you will have a lot of like mystery boxes, time limited tasks, quests, etc. for your users as well. So these are one whole long stages, I would say. There's really a lot of case study available out on our platform, as well as wherever, if let's say any of the partners or any of the dashboard users have any like questions about their campaigns, they are feel free to eventually reach out to our support or eventually reach out to the client relationship team or my team, so that we always cater an individual perspective and review for different partners. Because first of all, on our team, primarily on client relationship team, we will eventually firstly to understand what is the target audience or what is the goal for each partner before eventually we review like what is their metrics or what is their a proper setup for them. Yeah, so it's always a trial and tested one. I would say for globalization and localization, it's always hand in hand. So I don't really see like a huge difference, but of course, this is on a Web3. And on Galaxy end, because we always focus on globalization, we always want more users, not only on Web3 users, right, but also how to bridge on Web2 users to Web3. That's why we always have like, mission Web3, working with like different partners like MetaMask Wallet, different other like DeFi projects as well, to eventually introduce each of these tasks, let the users know when they are their first Web3 users, or eventually if let's say they want to build out their Web3 knowledges. Yeah, so through this, eventually they can gather certain old badges like on-chain achievement token on Galaxy, as well as eventually utilizing the credential data to leave their footprint on their Galaxy ID as well. So this is one kind of like achievement record, I would say. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Now we just share some kind of perspective from like Joe from Galaxy's perspective, from myself, from token perspective. Then we also want to leave the current time to the people, no matter offline or online. So if you have any question, so we just want to have an open communication with everybody to see how we can really kind of like grow the business, no matter from the which perspective. So anybody in the room here have a question? I can check the online.
Token ever want to expand to be like a plugin wallets and a desktop wallet, or why you just focus to be a mobile wallets?
Okay, that's actually beyond my kind of the responsibility.
I personally use imToken as my instant wallet on my phone.
Yeah.
So like, and then for the plugin, you have no choice. Probably use Frame or use like Rabbit or use MetaMask. But I say. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like for my personal experience, I think like imToken really provided fast for the mobile wallet, but like there's just no plugin or yeah,
I hope my CEO is here. Then he can really always facing this kind of question, and he can answer properly. Yeah, I can answer on behalf of him. So basically, I think this is about like not about like marketing anymore. It's about product philosophy. So our CEO's philosophy is about the safety. He never believes the plugin and also the wallet extension, because he just feel that does not really fulfill like our standard about the safety kind of the definition and requirement. So that is like, I think we keep have this kind of the question from the community and from even like core users is asking why we are just staying the mobile wallet without like a wallet extension. But I think the short answer is we did have quite a lot of the debate internally, but answer is still no. So the product philosophy does not really kind of align with current companies thinking about like how to build up like the best like safety kind of product. Yeah. Thank you for asking. Maybe Joe, let me ask one question. So for earlier we also discussed actually for Galaxy, we saw Galaxy actually grow so fast, right? And also you mentioned Galaxy is more focus on the globalization, we want to get more users. So then how Galaxy, I mean from like your experience just from like day one to so quickly just expand to so many markets?
Right. So a little background because I started with Galaxy quite early. So back then we are just a little space, right, whereby we have less than 100 spaces on Galaxy, like less than 100 partners on Galaxy. So we actually have an end of year goal to eventually hit 100 spaces on Galaxy the first year. But we was worried at the time that we can't eventually manage it, but eventually we launched our Galaxy Go campaign and was really very successful with the collaboration with different partners as well. So that event, I would say, really makes a huge change for Galaxy in turns because we see a spike on user participation as well, because that was the first, I would say, like main Galaxy, not say the first because our first was Galaxy Shadow Supercoder. But for that, Galaxy Go is something like very special because we collaborated with several partners. Some could be on-chain tasks, some could be like off-chain tasks, right? So how the campaign actually works is if one user, right, they try to eventually complete most of the partners. I remember we have like 7 partners or something. I couldn't really remember the figure count. But so the campaign actually was to get the users to try to complete as much campaigns as possible. And then at the end of the day, they were eventually able to forge for a new, like the final NFT. And this NFT actually weighs a certain weightage for our tokenized event. So that actually drives a huge successful campaign because what drives this successful result, I would say it's because mainly users are looking for airdrop opportunities, especially even on Galaxy right now. So a lot of times these users, they want to be an early adopters of different protocols or projects. That's sparked and interesting, but not every project that offers token that users will participate as well, because user checks on your credibility, right? The space credibility, whether or not if this campaign sounds right or wrong. Right, some of the campaigns or partners actually offers a certain types of token, but they probably didn't eventually fulfill it by the end of the campaign, etc. So that actually will damage the trust of the user end. But on Galaxy end, I would say, yeah, that Galaxy Go is the first one, and eventually will grow much more further. So when it was a successful campaign, partners see that, oh wow, that's a really huge cases, right? And then moving forward, because I actually want to touch on this on the second portion, like collaboration side. So that is one of the proven strategies. If let's say you are a newly startup protocol or project, always you can look out for like collaborations with several partners as well, because the more collaborative partners you have, the bigger price pool, right? For example, and then eventually you are getting into a wider audience too. So that actually shares some merits on the PR side as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone have a question? Because I have another one. Yeah, so Joe, so for Galaxy, since you guys, like you said, you want to get more users globally, then, for example, if you can share with us, then which market you feel currently is more difficult to get Galaxy kind of penetration, no matter it's a lack of the partners or lack of like the users?
I think recently we are trying to target Korean markets. So one really huge hinder that we face is, of course, Korean language, because Korean language is something like quite different. It requires a lot of translation. We also work with like community manager, media outlets as well. But the translation sometimes is very hard for us to eventually, for those especially without Korean language. Luckily, thankfully, we have one Korean employees actually to do the translation and looking through. But having to target the Korean markets, I would say, because it's a very different culture. And to be honest, not every Korean really understand English very well. So if you don't speak like native Korean to them, it's very hard to penetrate into their culture and eventually starting to get them come on board on Galaxy, because Galaxy actually right now, we are still standardizing. We are only using English, right? So a lot of like these native users, they need to translate it. And sometimes Google translation doesn't really work very well, I have to say. So by default, they might find like if let's say this error code is meaning this way, but when they are actually translating it, it may be sounding like another way. So that really shows a lot of hinder to us. But I would say it's still fine because right now we are starting penetrating slowly. We still have current users. It's just that we are actually building up slowly, as well as because currently for current market, we are actually eyeing for more of a gamified protocol projects. Right now, most of the current markets is gathering with like not only on like the DeFi sector, etc., but more on the gamified wise. For Korean users, we noticed that if let's say the campaign is much more gamified, kind of like result oriented, then it's more likely they will be participating. So this is one of our go-to-market strategy as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, for like you said, for Korean, it's like language. Like we I think have a common kind of the thinking. Like language is the biggest barrier if you don't know that language. Then look back for those kind of markets. Since like you mentioned, like you guys have currently global coverage for those markets who are not English speaking markets. Since Galaxy, you also mentioned it's currently just a standardized kind of platform with, for English. Then if you look back for those markets who are non-English speaking, so what are the key success kind of the elements you feel why Galaxy can successfully, the beyond like partners you mentioned earlier already. So what are the other key elements you can share with us?
Sure.
How you guys feel can just penetrate to those non-English speaking markets?
Okay, so I think
community.
one good thing about Galaxy is because we are heavily focused on community, right? So we do have several like different channels for targeted like geography, and we have a dedicated like community managers to eventually to shape and help and assist on this. So this is one very fortunate stuff for Galaxy because especially like we are a tools, right? Like campaign quest kind of like platform. So wherever like as long as like one user or wherever a certain community manager or users eventually notice that this is a new project or this is an interesting campaign, they will eventually have their own formula up to eventually their own blogs or articles or even YouTube videos to share like how to eventually join or participate this campaign, right? How to eventually complete a certain partner task on Galaxy, as well as like sometimes it also reflecting like, for example, the recent one is we have an introduction of StartNet integration. So we do have like several users in different language asking like how do they eventually change convert from EVN addresses to StartNet network, right, in order to participate on these campaigns. So I would say community strength is one on Galaxy, but if you were to ask like, is there any dedicated one? Yes, because we do occasionally have a certain like community mini events, I would say, to target on different users' participation. Sometimes like festivals, because for example, like in Singapore, we have a certain festivals, right? So different geography, they have different festivals. So we do have whole certain like on-chain achievement token, like event badges, for them to participate on certain mini games as well as to claim on certain old badges, as a incentivize them, like a memorial kind of like token badges for them, like to celebrate, because we want to respect each other culture, as well as we want to eventually let different culture users to participate and join each different cultures. Yeah. So I think it'll be very diversified in this sense. Yeah.
Now there's a question from the YouTube, but it's a very big. I think maybe ask Joe to answer first. Then maybe later I can also answer from my perspective. So the question is for 2C business, basically consumer business. The Julie on YouTube asking how to build global footprint step by step, and what resources are needed, and how marketing budget should be prepared. I think it's quite a broad kind of question.
I think if you were to set footprint by footprint, it really depends on what is your agenda and target audience at a point of time. Because if you are going to tell me you are going to look at the short-term wise, I would say your short-term would definitely be social boosting, and as well as like educational and short conversion, right? But this is not a long-term focus. If you are going to tell me that you are going to go for long-term focus, then you should have like a seasonal kind of like a campaign events when you actually start it out, because you have to have a main structure first before you start it. Each phase of different stages, you are focusing on different target audience. So at the first stage, when you are starting on a footprint, you definitely are catered to a wider or bigger audience, right? And then as and when your campaign started, or eventually the stages of fine-tuning, you will eventually realize that the real or authentic participants is actually getting lesser and lesser. But these are your real users, right, as compared to the masses. But of course, this doesn't stop there, because social boosting, I would say, always keep it to ongoing, no end time campaign, because you always want to attract new users. Educational task is the same thing, because you always want to, once they actually start to focus and follow your Twitter or Discord or Telegram, etc., right? You want to move them towards to educational part, and when you move them to like computer or educating them enough, then they can eventually try it out and test out your product. And after the testing phase, again, then it's all about rewarding. What kind of like in-game or in-credit rewards are you going to rewards for your long-term loyalty users, right? For marketing budget-wise, it really depends, because we do see like, if you're going to host one time of huge event, that budget could easily go about like 20K to 50K. Of course, if you're looking to collaborate partners, you can eventually build and share this to make it like 100K or more, right? Especially what you have seen on Galaxy or huge ecosystem-wise, how much rewards or incentive they are actually putting out there for the wider community. So if you are looking for a short-term wise, like a day-to-day kind of like contest or marketing budget, I would say 2,000 to 3,000, that will be for all. But these are like a test and trial. There's no arrows or there's no right strategies to say that if, let's say today, you are going to give out 5,000 token rewards and your campaign is strictly focusing on social boosting, I would say this is a wrong, not say wrong, but I would say this is not quite a right approach to reach out, because firstly, you are actually giving a free away money to eventually boost your social. It doesn't eventually educate your users unless you are actually adding educational quizzes, or eventually have one on chain, or rather like related product related kind of like credentials or tasks in this. Then it makes sense for you to eventually throw away this 5,000 tokens, right? For say. Yeah, so that would actually, because on a user perspective, of course, some bounty hunters, they will eventually participate on this kind of campaign, right? But at the end of the day, real users, they probably also questions on this type of campaign. Why are you throwing like free money to such an easy task? How credible is this of your project as well? They'll start reflecting and look back on this. So it works both hands. It doesn't mean that if your marketing budget is huge enough, then you are having a really very successful campaign or successful growth. But if, let's say, you are having a huge prize pool with notable or reputable collaborator partners, as well as a really pretty good educational or on-chain kind of quizzes for the users to participate, to build out on their on-chain footprint, then I would say yes, it's a to-go kind of strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I think from my perspective, if I share my advice or my past experience for global, to do the global footprint step by step, actually we are also on the journey for imToken. But still, I think I firmly believe you still should choose your focus markets. So I think that's like a whole idea we are also currently piloting, because if you are just aiming for global, but you don't start from anywhere, then you are basically competing with everybody. Unless your product is so unique, there's no any competition, which rarely see currently in the industry. But if you are just building up like certain kind of the innovation, which is not like dramatically kind of change the game. So better to find like a right markets first. That's the first thing. And regarding to the earlier, also the Joe mentioned about marketing budget. Also from my perspective, I think quite similar. So marketing budget is not about like low and high. It's depending on your objective and also your ambition. So I think because I came from Web2 kind of industry. So previously for Web2, right? Actually, before I joined like crypto, I never know where high tech has been labeled as called like Web2 industry. So the so-called in the non-high tech or like Web2 industry, so we basically buy the market share. So we will use the cost per acquisition through the particular from the advertising. So it's performance marketing. So it's based on the target. We know how many users kind of like we can buy in the markets. Web3 typically we don't do in this way. Then Web3 we see through the community. But ultimately, I think still depending on how aggressive you are and how fast you want to penetrate the market. We always say no matter for Web2 users or Web3 users, they basically still have a lot of users will be incentivized to do something. But if we don't have the sustainable kind of the model after the incentive, then we will fall into a kind of the loophole, like when your incentive stopped and then your growth stopped as well. So that will be kind of like a disaster for the business. So for the marketing budget, it's really about like what you kind of like aim to achieve. And then for the past, like the brand I handled, typically in the beginning, then typically we are focusing more for education and branding. Because as long as we want to build a lifelong kind of business, it's not like just 1 year or 2 years. So those ones, ultimately, you will get long tail impact. And we seldom to put like a incentive first, because your incentive, the kind of the challenge will be like budget put there, then it's more like your business will stop as well, most likely after your incentive stops. Then for branding and education, regarding to how much budget we can put into into the pool, I think it really depends. So if particularly for the branding, I think for previously we also did one of the case study for like recently OKX, right? They did the rebranding. They hired a BBDO. Then you guys know the BBDO, the price is millions of dollars just for them to create a campaign for you. So it's up to like a business current situation and then choose the right level kind of the ambition, so that it doesn't mean like we have a lower budget. That means we have a low impact, or higher budget definitely will have higher impact. I think still need to evaluate the company's kind of the goal and also current product market fit. So if the product is really fit market well, or like the product is just another Me Too product and then want to get the market attention. So I think that is like something I share from my side. Yeah. So any question from the room here? Or if not, like in the end, maybe Joe, like what kind of the last no matter the experience or advice or suggestion you want to share from your end or from Galaxy perspective. And by the way, I just talked with Joe previously in Bybit. It's also like very early kind of the employee in Bybit. So from your past, the Web3 companies, from their growth perspective, what are the last kind of the advice or suggestions or experience you want to share to the audience today?
I would say actually, you really need to identify what you really want to do. Who is your target audience? In which phase? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? Right? I think every of the partners always have one issue, is that they always want real users. Right? This is a very generic answer, because anyone wants real users. Anyone wants new users. But at the stage, you have to tell us like what is your real purpose. Like, for example, if your product stage is currently at this phase, then maybe at this stage, what kind of like target audience you are actually introducing? Is it like low assets users? Is it like it's just contributors, etc.? Is it just like testers or an early developers, etc.? So definitely I would say it's about identifying. And then once you already have identified this kind of like situation, then you can eventually look out for like a certain solution. Because strategies, always, there isn't any fixed strategies. To be honest, it's always like a fixed here and there, but always look back on your data metrics, because your data metrics will tell you that if, let's say, this is successful data or is not successful campaigns, I would say, or successful go-to-market strategy. That will be one. Secondly, always speak to more people. I would say, especially if, let's say, you have any hinders, always reach out. Because especially on Web3 industry, we are pretty small industry, I would say. Right now, it's still very small. So wherever we go, everywhere, we are sharing and exchanging. How can we eventually get users, right? How can we eventually retain users as well as bridging like Web2 users to Web3? I think this is one of the most what we are solving. So end of the day, stay true to the company goal and stay true to yourself wherever you go. This is what I always like to highlight to any of the partners, because only if you stay true, only you are honest and building the trust with your users, then this is a long-term way to go. Users are more likely to stay because they build a trust with you and your product as well. But if, let's say, this trust is gone, I mean, it's very hard to recover the users back again. Yeah, so definitely this is my feedback.
Okay, thank you, Joe. And then thank you everybody to come to the meetup today. So if you can, we have the little survey. You can give us more feedback so that we can just organize the meetup better in the future. Tell us what kind of topic you want and what kind of speaker you want us to invite. And then in the end, so we also prepared the small specs there on the table there, and then later you can also just take your favorite specs from imToken and Galaxy. Okay, and also for people in the YouTube, yeah, that's the end for today. Thank you so much for watching, and then just leave the comments in our Twitter handle. Let us know what kind of topic and what kind of meetup you are expecting in the coming months. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.